Hello and welcome to Experience Generosity. I am so thankful you are here to join us. I remember when I first learned about foster care. I saw a video of a little girl waiting in a foster care agency office while her worker called to find her an available home. And everyone on the other end of the line said no. I watched as this little girl waited and she heard no upon no upon no, and it broke my heart. This resonated so deeply with me because my husband and I had been in our own season of waiting for the 2 years prior. At that time, we had 3 kids, one of whom we adopted, and we were trying to adopt from the United States. But with every call from our agency came this word: no, this child is not yours. So I knew the heartbreak of the no, but my perspective shifted as I thought of all the children waiting for families, and I had to do something. So I walked into our local DCFS, our state foster care agency, and I asked, where do the kids wait? I didn't know this was happening in my community. I need to know more. Can you help me? And as they walked me into rooms where kids spend time either waiting or visiting with their parents, once again, my heart broke. The dirty white walls with outdated Disney decals on them, the hard government-issued furniture, and the toys with missing pieces grieved me, and it prompted me to action. With permission from the agency, I recruited family and friends to redecorate these spaces, and we were able to give these rooms a fresh coat of colorful paint, brought in new furniture, toys, and decor. And this once unwelcoming, sterile room was transformed into a warm and inviting space. I wanted these kids to know when they arrived that they were seen, they were loved and welcomed, never forgotten. This project was the catalyst for what is now the Forgotten Initiative. Throughout these past 11 years, we have consistently seen 3 things. 1, the church cares about the hurting, the vulnerable, and the forgotten in their communities. 2, foster care agencies are doing their best to support the families and children in their care, but they need support. And 3, there is a large gap that exists between the 2. So this is where TFI comes in. We serve in this gap. I'm going to tell you more about TFI and where we are going in a few minutes, but before I do that, I am so excited to introduce you to someone who personally experienced foster care and has a beautiful story of redemption. Well, Kristen, I'm so happy to have you with me today. Thank you so much for being here to share your story.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful for the ministry that you guys do and just the blessing that it is being the helping hand alongside foster and adoptive families and keeping Christ at the center focus of it.
Yeah, amen. Well, your story is a powerful story, and I'm really excited to be able to talk through it a little bit today. But you were first put into foster care when you were only 2 years old. And although you were very, very young, you have really vivid memories of this time. You have memories of being moved from home to home. You have memories of visiting your mom. You have memories of various caregivers and even memories of entering your now, or what became your adoptive home at the age of 5. And Interestingly, during your stay in foster care, you felt pretty safe and you felt hopeful, right? Like it was not really a bad experience like a lot of times we think of. But your struggle really began after being adopted. This is when feelings of abandonment, struggles with self-worth, belonging, identity, all of these things kind of reared their ugly head. And to give appropriate context, your adoptive parents were loving, God-honoring people who cared deeply for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just talk about this. Why do you think this was the case, that it was kind of after adoption when things really started to get hard?
I mean, really the the enemy wanting to thwart a beautiful thing that the Lord had brought together, just sustaining me indescribably, when otherwise a youth has every reason, looking at their physical situation, to feel hopeless or concerned or worried or confused or not secure. Just the fact that I had that. And then I don't imagine that the enemy is excited about family at all. And so really just capitalizing on that opportunity to just cause division and dissension in the home, and rooting it with bringing in an outsider, in a sense. I was the one brought into the home, and being acclimated to a new environment, and sifting through and working through lies. But truly it was all part of the Lord equipping my parents to be able to respond to those lies that I was dealing with, and covering them in truth. Like, they did a beautiful way of responding, because like I said, the common, I feel like they are common of if your mom didn't want you, why would anyone else want you? You don't actually belong here. You don't actually belong to them. This isn't your real family. You don't have family. Those types of lies are, you're not loved, but just pointing me not to them, but pointing me to the fact that I am loved, and that there's nothing that can take that away from me, because it's not even about the fact that they love me, but it's about the fact that the Lord loves me, and he loved me when I didn't have a family, and he loves me now that I have a family, and he will love me no matter what happens to them. And so hearing those spiritual truths that they didn't shy away from, and didn't assume that I wouldn't understand at the age of 5, but they still gave them to me to chew on. And it did bring me peace. So yeah, I consider it kind of, I am in the stage of courting, and my sweet love has asked my parents for the blessing this past weekend, actually. So,
oh my goodness.
Thank you. I hear a common wisdom that is shared, as people that follow Christ want to keep ourselves pure in all ways, but physically too. And there's a saying, like, the enemy does everything he can to try and get you to sleep together before marriage. And then he does everything he can inside of marriage to keep you apart and not connect physically. And so that similar thing happened in a different way, but in my orphan time, and then having my family, I was sustained and felt the Lord's peace, and that he was protecting me, and I felt okay. And but then the moment I was adopted, all the lies start coming in, the rejection, the abandonment, the night terrors, all of it.
Wow. Yeah. Isn't it true? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? I appreciate how you brought the truth right there, that it was really the enemy trying to thwart the plan. You struggled with these feelings really throughout your childhood and even into early adulthood, and you really pushed your mom particularly away. Can you talk about, kind of help us understand more how that looked, how those feelings really played out in your life?
Yeah. So the biggest lie was that if your mom doesn't want you, or she doesn't love you, well, if she doesn't want you, how did she really love you? She didn't ever really love you if she didn't want you. And if she didn't have you, then that means she didn't want you, because if she wanted you, then she would have kept you. All lies, once again. But me operating in that, just shutting me off to any kind of mother. And my mom's sweet, beautiful heart to just only desired to be that mother for me, and to nurture me, and to hold me, and to respond to me as the mother in my life. And I just rejected it. It was like kind of like out of a vengeful or like a spiteful like way often, but really just rooted in hurt and not understanding. And so, it came out in that way. I challenged her, and I needed her to prove to me that she loved me. And it was, I mean, I was challenging and desiring for the love that I could only get through the Lord. I was desiring for her to give that to me, like, and she couldn't, she's only human. But I was shut off to, just that role that the Lord had for her in my life. And, I just, I'm so grateful for her for just being long suffering truly with me, because I challenged her all the way up until I was about 15. And that's really just when I became independent, and my parents just kind of let the reins off of me and gave me to the Lord, because they weren't going to try to force how they wanted me to walk on them. They were just trusting the Lord, me in the Lord's hands, truly.
Yeah, because they couldn't want it for you more than you wanted it for yourself, could they? Didn't you also like even try to make, or you felt jealous? I remember you telling me another time that we talked that you felt jealous of your dad and that he and your mom were so close. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Yes, I was so open and so excited to have a father. My bio father, I've yet to meet him, and he had never been in the picture. I had never had visits or anything like that. So all I knew at, from birth to 5 years old was that I didn't have a dad. And so I was so open and excited to have that, and so receptive of my father, and jealous of my mom, because I wanted the love, undivided soul, like the source kind of love from a human. And when I was receiving of a person, which in that time of my life was my dad, I was like, but you need to love me. I was just jealous of that he had, of course he loved and honored my mom and desired to spend time with her. And more lies from the enemy, like, oh, if he's spending time with her and it's not shared time with you, then if someone doesn't want to spend all their time with you, then that must mean that like they don't really love you. And just silly lies that I would entertain as a youth.
And then they embed deeply, right? They embed deeply in you, and they become your belief system if you don't root them out, and if you're not aware of even how to root them out yet. As you grew up and into your later 20s, you radically met Jesus, right? He became your personal Savior and Lord of your life. And as you think back now on those early days and even growing up, how has the Lord redeemed what was hard and the brokenness back then? How has he redeemed that in your life and in your relationship, even with your mom in particular?
Yeah, I always say, I went from not having a family to having a family to excelling and doing well in school and getting a job I so enjoyed. I got to travel the U.S., working events, making great money, sowing my wild oats, if you will. And I just found myself, nothing was ever able to like truly satisfy me. And I had a stronghold in my life as well. And because my parents had exposed me to the truth growing up, I came to a place when I was 22 where I was like, okay, Lord, I had actually just been reunited with my birth family. And about about a year had passed, and I was like, my whole life has come full circle. I've met all my siblings. I got to be at my mother's funeral, my birth mother's funeral, after only meeting her 8 weeks before. My life should be complete. Like, the story's complete. Like, I have the missing pieces now. It's still not enough. Why am I still not? I was happy, but I didn't have joy. I didn't have the joy of the Lord. And I was like, all right, Lord, this stronghold, if I give this to you, I'm just operating in the wisdom that I've been given growing up. And as I've sought biblical community and just your word, that if I give this to you, what I'm missing is that intimacy with you, and I will have intimacy with you, and just the satisfaction I've been longing for. And so, at 22, I released a stronghold to him, and he took it from me. And I just, my life's never been the same. It was very, very sweet. I know that a lot of everyone's deliverance stories look different, but mine in particular, what I gave to the Lord was taken. I didn't go through a whole season of stumbling and being discouraged and needing to confess and accountability. I gave it to him. He took it in a moment, and I never looked back. And that was just very beautiful. And it's allowed me to be able to find satisfaction in seeking him to where he wants me to be. So being in the job that he wants me to be at, being in the relationship that he wants me to be at, and just truly tasting that it is so good. It is the only thing that satisfies. And I wish I had been just consuming from him and just having him as my source way sooner. But his timing is wonderful. And my relationship with my parents has, it truly, when I moved out at 18, it really started taking off. I was no longer under their household. And I did move out because they had spoken to me growing up about the concept of honoring your mother and father. And there were things that I wanted to do at 18 that I felt at the time, I didn't realize it was conviction, but I knew that they weren't honoring to my parents. And so I had a decision. If I want to honor my parents, I need to move from under their roof if I'm going to choose to do these things. And so I moved out at 18, never moved back in, but my relationship with them just flourished from there. And ever since I started walking with the Lord at 22, I know I look so young. I'll be 28 this year. But my relationship with my mama has just continued to be nourished and just grow. And I feel like every day I grow in appreciation and love for her. Last time I got to speak with you, I just sent her a text, just overwhelmed, that I said, Mama, I thank you so much for loving me, even when I would reject you, who you were, and just the love that you were trying to give to me. You continue to show up and to love me. And I'm just so eternally grateful for her, because the Lord has just been a conduit of himself through her to me, his continual outpouring and graciousness and kindness. So,
wow. And I hope this is an encouragement to those who are listening, because I imagine that everyone who is watching this today cares deeply for kids, right? However, I also imagine there's people watching that are very much in the trenches and maybe walking with a child who is not giving back love, maybe is rejecting. I'm just wondering, Kristen, if there's anything that you would like to share with those moms, those dads who are in the trenches and are just maybe even thinking, I can't keep going. I want to give up.
Yeah, that's so good. I think that's what makes it so just healing over my heart is seeing the testimony of, wow, I would have given up on 8-year-old terror or, 12-year-old terror. I think there was one time I was 16 and running around with a guy that everyone in my life didn't like, and my parents especially just concerned about my well-being and my safety. And I remember I called my mama one night, and I was scared. That was like a big thing for me to do because I never really called her for help. And I did, and she came to pick me up. I think it was like 1 a.m, and I was like an emotional wreck, and didn't even know how I felt about the fact that I was allowing her to come help me and maybe comfort me. And that caused me so much anxiousness that I jumped out of the car, and she just kept driving, and I just left. And I share that because there's so much turmoil and just anxiousness going on inside of a youth that's been through the trauma of losing family, or just young, hard places, essentially, that continues to carry even through the many years of healing. Because at that point, like I said, I was about 16, and but the fact that they still kept going, it's truly the fruit of long suffering, just seeking to understand and doing it truly unto the Lord, and not for an outcome or for a change. Just showing up daily in faithfulness to the Lord. Like, okay, this is who I am in this girl's life, my daughter, my child, and how do you have for me to walk in that today, Lord? I'm just looking at today, and I encourage anyone who is in the trenches right now to truly just get your refreshment and strength from the Lord alone, and not from anything else, because days are going to be good and days are going to be bad. And I fall into that with the girls that I have the joy of getting to shepherd and live with, the teens that I live with that have aged out of care. I'll have those joyous days where I'll be tempted to be like, oh, this is why. But then the Lord reminds me, like, no, like, there's a joy in the really hard places, because that's what they're going to look back on and be like, that's why that person was in my life, or like, that's why my mom is just an agent of healing in my life, because she was there in those dark times, in those hard places, in the times that I rejected her, laughed at her, or mocked her, or whatever it is that you might be going through with the youth that you have. So I hope that wasn't just a big ramble, but
no, that's I think so much truth in that. And I think a cool piece of what you even shared was, just briefly, you mentioned that you're now living with girls who've aged out. It's gone even another kind of layer here, where not only have you had a redeemed and a wonderful relationship with your parents now, but now you're also giving to kids who probably don't always receive it in the way that you wish they would, right? But it is, what you said is, it's faithfulness and it's obedience, and it's getting refreshment only from the Lord. That's it. That's it. And sometimes we wish there was more. We wish there was a box that we could check, or just a 3-step plan that we could follow, and everything would be great. But that's not the case. But it is possible to experience the depth of Christ's love by just receiving.
I had a picture just now of the table that the Lord sets every single day for us. Every single day he prepares a table and makes a meal, and there's a place with our name on it, and he pulls the chair out for us every single day, regardless of if we're going to go sit at the table with him, regardless if we're going to eat the meal that he's prepared for us. He still does it. And so that's the just the picture and of what I believe that we do when we walk through where the Lord has us in our households with the youth that we get to be with, because they're his.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, Kristen, I so value this time that we got to spend together. I appreciate you and for sharing your story. Is there anything else on your heart that you want to share before we close out?
Your treasure is in heaven. It truly is. Your treasure is in heaven. Everything that you're storing up right now, it's just creating a beautiful treasury or abundance of fruit that is going to be so sweet when we're with the Lord, and we get to see the culmination of it all in one space, if that makes sense. So just keep moving forward and staying in prayer and being led by the Holy Spirit in each moment with the children that the Lord's placed in your hands. And it's a sweet journey, and I'm very, very grateful for everyone that responds to the call and takes a step of faith, because the Lord is sweetly presenting himself and growing you in him while you walk alongside the youth that he has. So,
yeah. Well, Kristen, thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hearing Kristen's story makes me love Jesus all the more, and I am reminded, as I hope you were too, that there is always hope. This is why we do what we do. We envision a world where people everywhere are supporting the foster care community and experiencing Jesus together, and we have crafted a path to make our vision a reality. Since I first walked into our local DCFS 11 years ago, TFI has grown into a national ministry where we are helping people launch and lead thriving foster care ministries in 44 communities and 26 states across our nation. Our ministries are led by highly committed, trained Christian volunteers who are active in their local churches and passionate about helping the church show Jesus to the foster care community. Our leaders are connecting an average of 3 churches with 59 agencies, and those agencies are serving approximately 12,000 children at any given time. We train our leaders to build relationships and be connectors. So they are building relationships with agency workers so that they can understand the needs within their local foster care community. And they are building relationships with the church leaders to understand the unique giftings and resources of that church. And then our leaders connect the two together. In one of our ministry locations, DCFS received a hotline call placed for a severely at-risk family. So this means that without support, this family was going to be separated, and their children were going to be put into foster care. DCFS reached out to our leader for help because they wanted to keep this family together. And through the generosity of local donors, TFI was able to step in to meet this family's urgent needs, but then connected a local church to continue serving and provide ongoing support to this family. Because of our leaders' relationship with DCFS, TFI was there to serve in the gap. But that's not where it stops, because our ministry doesn't stop with us doing the work. We exist to help the church engage in this work. Our ministries are making a gospel impact right where they live. And as we grow, the opportunities to help more people support the foster care community and more people experience Jesus together only multiplies. Not only this, but 6 years ago, we started a podcast to raise more awareness of this community and help people wherever they are in their foster care journey feel supported and seen. Our podcast now has been listened to over 750,000 times. It has 18,000 monthly listens and has been heard in over 150 countries and all 50 states. We hear from our listeners often about the impact the podcast is making on them. From someone choosing to foster teens because their eyes were opened, to someone continuing to foster even in the dark times because they knew they weren't alone, to someone who doesn't even resonate with our Christian worldview but has been helped and encouraged. This podcast has brought a reach we never expected. What is also fascinating about this podcast is that it has become our #1 ministry leader recruiting tool. Previously, we would onboard new leaders individually, but to create sustainability and scalability, we've adjusted our process in 2 ways. Now we have an open application period lasting 1 month, twice a year. And secondly, we invite several applicants onto the team at once, and we train them in a group. We literally have people lining up to become TFI advocates. Last winter, we brought on only 29% of the leaders who applied. So that was 10 out of the 34 that applied. It is critical to us that our leaders align with our culture and our approach, and that they have the capacity to carry out the role and are strongly recommended by their references. We are intentional about scaling with the right people in the right way, even though we could bring on more people and grow faster. Last month, we launched our spring application period and received over 30 applications again. With our plan to grow to 50 ministries by July, we will only be able to invite a small percentage on once again. Now, not only do we launch these ministries, but we provide each leader with personalized coaching, professional resources, and intentional community. We pour into our leaders so they can then go pour into their communities. If we were talking business terms, we're a bit like a franchise model. So think Chick-fil-A. Over the next 5 years, we plan to triple our growth as we expand to 150 ministries. We are leaders who develop leaders who develop leaders, and we are changing the narrative. You've probably heard the saying, hurt people hurt people. Well, here at TFI, we believe that well cared for people care well for people. Well cared for people care well for people. We want to see people everywhere supporting the foster care community and experiencing Jesus together. And we are poised and ready to grow to places we've never been before, and your investment will make this possible. Together, we will help more people step into this work. We will help ministry leaders serving not in isolation, but with the coaching, community, and resources they need to thrive. And when leaders are equipped, we will see the church come alongside the foster care community, showing them that they are not alone, as more people will experience Jesus together, and ultimately the name of Jesus will grow more famous. This is gospel work we get to be part of. Some of you are already partnering with us, and I say thank you so much. And some of you are learning about us for the first time. I feel a lot like Paul when he said this to the Philippians. He said, I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, for you all making my prayer with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. And I am sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. We believe that when you give generously, God gives back. Not necessarily in the same way, but I guarantee you this, you will experience him more. Will you partner with us and invest in this gospel work? Your giving has the power to support the foster care community, but most importantly, Help people experience Jesus. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. If you go to our website, you will see some specific needs you can give towards. Things like providing one-on-one coaching to our ministry leaders, sustaining the podcast's impact and reach, and helping us encourage and equip our leaders through our annual retreat. But I want to let you know that there are 2 ways you can give to TFI. First, you can give quickly and securely on the Experience Generosity webpage. Because of key partners, fundraising and administrative costs are already covered, so the entire 100% of your received donation will directly support the Forgotten Initiative. Secondly, you can give by check. Please make checks payable to the Forgotten Initiative and mail them with Experience Generosity on the memo line to the address on the screen. Thank you again for spending time tonight listening, learning, and investing in this gospel work. We could not do this without your partnership.